Before we get started, a quick reminder. Unlocked is for informational and entertainment purposes only. It is not a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Please consult a qualified healthcare provider for any health concerns. Thank you for listening. Please like, subscribe, and give a thumbs up, and share across all platforms. Unlocked. Mental performance, physical results. Welcome to Unlock. This is mental performance, physical results. This is the second part of a two-part episode. I split it up because I didn't want you to have burnout. It's a little bit of an overwhelming topic. It's a lot of background as to why this show even exists. So we took a little break after half an hour, and hopefully you've already listened to part one and you're here for part two. If you haven't listened to part one, let's dial back and go listen to part one first. I promise this will make a whole lot more sense with that. So where we left off, we were talking about how quitting at sports and quitting at academics isn't going to end up setting you free when it comes to stress. It's still going to be there no matter what job you choose, no matter what profession you go with. It's going to be there with relationships. It's going to be there in your life. And you're going to have to figure that out. So what do these physical results look like? What do they feel like? Is it just the fact that your performance is down, or is it just the fact that you're tired, or is there more that you can identify? Well, let's start with chronic stress. Chronic stress isn't just an immediate stress reaction. It's not just an immediate stress or pressure that fades away. Chronic stress is when it's back over and over and over again, and it stacks and it increases exponentially. Getting this stress for 2 or 3 days doesn't just give you 2 to 3 times the amount of stress. When you get to day 3, it feels like 10 times as much stress. Chronic stress is a serious, debilitating level of stress. And obviously, it's going to have psychological stressors. We've talked about that, but it's also going to have physiological consequences. What happens is you end up with elevated cortisol levels. You end up with reported cardiovascular problems. We talked about the immune system dropping. We've talked about fatigue. And you can do a lot of research on this, and you can talk to medical professionals, and they can give you much more in depth. I can only give you the 30,000 feet view because I am not a medical professional. But what I can tell you is there's a lot of research out there that you can go and read, and you can go and talk to your trainer. You can go and talk to your doctor. And what they're going to tell you is that there is a link between chronic stress and health issues. We're talking diabetes. We're talking about autoimmune disorders. We're talking about heart disease. All of these things, the doctors and the scientists of the world have said, hey, stress increases the probability of you suffering from these conditions. And if you have these conditions, stress is going to make them worse. We've seen in popular media, we've seen in movies and television over and over and over again. What happens to the guy who's having way, way too much stress? He has a heart attack. He grabs his arm, he grabs his chest, he falls to the ground. It's used as a comedy routine, for a comedic response. It's used to drive drama, but it's also a semi-accurate reflection of what really happens. Now, it's not sudden, but over time it builds up and you start to see that. And we talked about burnout. I scream and I yell about burnout. But what burnout really is exhaustion. It's exhaustion, and it's mental exhaustion and it's physical exhaustion. And what happens is you get the same physical symptoms from this mental burnout that you get from being just too tired in general. And being too tired sounds like a weakness. How can you be too tired? Man up. Look, you only have a finite amount of energy available to you in any given day at any given moment. And if you have physical burnout, you end up fatigued. You have trouble sleeping. You have muscle aches. One of the things that happens that people don't really think about is you have digestive problems. We talked earlier in the show about having like butterflies in your stomach or a knot in your stomach as a result to an immediate stressor. Now imagine you've got burnout, you've got chronic stress, you constantly have an upset stomach, you're constantly having digestive concerns, and overall you're just not healthy. You can't keep anything in. It's coming out one way or the other. You're not fully absorbing your nutrients, you're not benefiting from the intake, and you're not intaking enough because everything doesn't feel right. So now You're physically weaker. You have mental health fatigue as well, anxiety, depression. We've talked about that. Again, there are so many nuances to it. It's not as simple as just be happy. And if you've reached the stage where the stress is gone from just being a nag to chronic, there's a lot of help out there, and those resources can become great members of your team to help you reach your sports and athletic goals. Don't be afraid to reach out to the clinic. Don't be afraid to reach out to the trainer. Don't be afraid to get medical help for mental issues, because those things are real, and it's not just about being sad. It can be headaches. Are you getting chronic migraines? Look, I've had migraines. They can affect your vision. They can affect your memory. You don't feel like getting out of bed. It hurts so bad that you literally have like blackout level pain. And that can be stress induced. Migraines are a legitimate issue. And not only are they caused by something physical, by scent, by sight, by allergens, by sinuses, by getting hit in the head, but they can also be caused from stress load, especially chronic stress load. So you have to develop coping mechanisms. And that means positive coping mechanisms. There's a lot of negative ones out there, whether it is something as simple as eating a pint of ice cream when you're sad, whether it's gorging on pizza, or it's something more severe, whether it's alcohol abuse, whether it's substance abuse, whether it's drug abuse, whether it's abusing other people as a way of expressing yourself, whether it is destroying property as a way of disengaging from your stress. Those are all horrible, bad coping mechanisms that you need to remove from your life, and you can with help. They're not programmed into your DNA. Just because a parent or a grandparent used that coping mechanism doesn't mean you're tied to it and stuck with it. You have choices, and you have allies out there that can help you get through that, because there are detrimental physical effects of those coping mechanisms. There's also, by the way, negative social effects and negative legal effects to some of those. So reel them in. If you've got them, let's identify them. Let's talk about them. Let's get rid of them. But specifically, what does it feel like? What are we talking about? Well, muscle tension. That's a big one. You feel tight. It reduces your flexibility, and that reduces your coordination, and that reduces your performance, right? So if you have muscle tension and reduced coordination, you're not going to play at your best. We talk a lot about fatigue, but fatigue is also about having low energy levels, which means you can't ever hit that 100% max energy level. It reduces your endurance, and it reduces your stamina. So not only do you feel tired, but you perform tired. You're impaired for your decision making. You're impaired for your focus. You're impaired for your judgment. All of those mental tasks required to do your job on the court, on the field, in the classroom, they're all reduced. And so now that increase of injury from the biomechanics of your body, right, are being doubled up with the mental side of it not being equipped to handle it. And we talked about some of the other things like sleep disruption, about gastrointestinal issues, about studies that have told you there are cardiovascular effects. You're going to have an elevated heart rate. You're going to have elevated blood pressure. You might feel shortness of breath. You could actually feel like you're having a heart attack, legitimate chest pains from stress. And the fact that you didn't sleep good, and the fact that you're having gastrointestinal issues, all pile up to what feels like a really big medical condition. And it's something you need to seek help for if it reaches that stage. But you can also manage your stress load to mitigate these issues. And one last one that I want to talk about is hormones. Why do I save hormones for now? Well, first of all, again, not a doctor, but chronic stress will affect your hormone releases because your brain triggers those releases. And so if stress is disrupting your hormone releases, then it's also disrupting your muscle growth. It's also disrupting your repair. It's also disrupting your physical progress. And away from the field, it might be disrupting your physical performance. Hint, hint, wink, wink. Hormones are critical to your well-being. Physical activity affects hormones. Stress affects hormones. Diet affects hormones. Exercise affects hormones. You get the hint here? Everything affects hormones. And hormones affect everything. So when it comes to that mental, physical interaction, all of these other things we talked about, the fatigue, the gastrointestinal, the sleep, all of these things tie back into the brain-body reaction. And those signals are sent through not only neurons, but also through hormones. And as a result, your stress load can have a significant effect on every aspect of your body that is triggered and controlled by hormones. So it is really, really important for your performance for you to get a hold of that. All right. Negatives. Coach Eric, my goodness, you're causing me so much stress. And man, this has been a really long episode. Why? Why do you have to pile on? Well, look, it's not all bad. It's not, I promise you. There are some positives that go along with all of this. We just saved those for now. Stress can have a great role in your motivation. Without any level of stress, you don't have something to strive for. You don't have something to push for. Stress gives you that little kick of adrenaline you need to go out there and be successful, right? We call that the adrenaline rush. We call that your competition level, your competitiveness. It boosts you for creativity. If you want to paint really, really well, a little bit of stress is going to get the juices flowing. We've heard that before, right? And it's going to help you perform that creative task better. In addition, stress can work as a way of conditioning you. Much like lifting a lighter weight can help build you up to lifting a bigger weight, managing lesser stresses can help you learn to manage heavier stresses. In other words, managing stress can help build mental toughness, mental resilience, and of course, mental performance. So in a lot of ways, stress management is training just like lifting weights is training, just like running sprints is training, just like doing your EDDs is training. So if you want to be mentally tough, if you want to have a great self-belief, if you want to be resilient, if you want to be focused, if you want to be clutch, you have to be put into situations where there's enough stress to test your ability to perform, to learn, and to build, and to get better at it. And that's going to improve you in so many physical ways. Your endurance will get better. Your recovery will get better. Your quick thinking will get better. Your quick reacting will get better. Your focus will be tied to the fact that you are now prepared. And when you're prepared, your focus is better. So stress can help you. Think about baseball. A hitter who only hits in the batting cage and never hits off of live pitching is not prepared physically for the task of picking up the pitch, hitting a ball with movement, and to getting their timing right. But a batter who only ever hits off of a machine and then a live pitcher in a batting practice, standing in the box by themselves with maybe their teammates around situation, isn't prepared for scouts standing on the other side of the fence. They aren't prepared for the other team talking smack. They aren't prepared for 10,000 fans, 20,000 fans, 100,000 fans being behind them, judging them. They certainly aren't prepared to be on TV. And so they have to find ways to train with those kind of stressors going on, or things that will simulate those kind of stressors, so that they can still hit the ball when the pitcher throws it to them and the game is happening. And all of those things are happening around them. It's not just a matter of saying, I can do this. I'm going to do this. It's not just a matter of saying, I'm going to ignore the stress. You can't. You have to learn tools. You have to learn ways of managing them. And there's a lot of ways to do it. And we're going to cover a lot of those on this show. Things like positive mindset are really helpful, but they're not enough by themselves. You need to learn self-talk, how to communicate with yourself to overcome the voices in your head. You can do things like visualization. I'm not just talking about, dream boards where you put up goals on cardboard and hang it on the wall so you know where you want to get to. That's great. But what about when you're standing on the field and you need to learn how to get into that game mode? Visualization can help you with that. There are tools like the ABCs. There are things like the kebabs and workflows that can help you build an action plan, an actionable action plan for reaching your goals. And that's going to help with your stress management because you're going to have bite-sized chunks to attack, and you're going to have tools lined out to attack those. It's not just all being dumped in your lap at once. And if you practice those things, you get better at them. And when you find something that works, let's say yoga is really good for you. It is. Well, it's really good for all of us. But for you specifically, you in a quiet room, stretching, really listening to your body, focusing on your breathing, that makes you feel so good when you're done that you realize that that can be part of your routine to get ready for games. Spend 15 minutes going through a basic yoga routine where you're focused internally, where you're focused on you and you're listening to your body. That might not work for all of you. For some guys, it might be, hey, I'm going to go spend 5 minutes pounding a heavy bag. I'm going to get the adrenaline running. I'm going to get up and go and just feel great. And when I'm done, I'm ready to go. Cool. We can attack our stress in many, many different ways, but you have to start building up that mind-body connection and that toolbox for getting the results you want to get. Because if you do that, you're going to have improved focus. You're going to have improved concentration. Mental training enhances focus. And that leads to better execution of your physical skills. It leads to better execution of your techniques. It leads to reduced errors, and it makes you more efficient. Hey, guess what? All of those things mean you do better. And these mental performance tools are going to increase your motivation and drive. Why? Well, goal setting is a huge part of the mental toolbox. Visualization is a big part of goal setting. And that's a boost to your motivation because you see the path, you see the tools, you see the way to get there. So now it's easier to stay on path. It's easier to stay committed to the training. It's easier to push harder when you have a goal in mind. It is really hard to get stronger if you don't lift weights. It is really hard to lift weights if you don't have a baseline. And it is really hard to exceed that baseline if you haven't said, you know what, baseline isn't good enough. So these mental performance tools can help you improve your overall fitness. We talked a lot about stress and we talked a lot about anxiety today, but mindfulness, deep breathing, things like yoga, or even just taking the time to listen to some favorite music and relax can go a long way to helping reduce and manage your stress. And if you help reduce and manage your stress, and you help reduce and manage your anxiety, you start to lower your risk of injury. You start to improve your performance under pressure. You start to recover on a game in and game out basis better. And that means your mental well-being is going to be better. And if your mental well-being is better, you're going to have better social interactions with your coaches, with your teammates, with your competitors, with your officials, with yourself. So your drive and your motivation are all going to be better. Your recovery is going to be better. You're not going to be as stressed out. You're going to be focused. You're going to be concentrating. You're going to perform better. And that's when you start being clutch. That's when you start being able to play through the pain. We talk about that all the time, but how do you do that? Well, you have to be mentally strong to play through the pain. Because when you're mentally weak, it overwhelms you. It becomes yet another block piled on you from stress. But it has been shown that you'll have an increase in pain tolerance when you are mentally stronger because you can push through that discomfort and identify the difference between discomfort, hurt, and injury. Because there's a difference in those things. And when you're focused and you're mentally strong, you can identify those things so they don't overwhelm you. So how do we get there, Coach Eric? How do we get there? You've been talking to me for almost an hour now, and all you've done is pound me with thoughts of stress, rewarded me with a little bit of hints that stress could be good too. But what do I do with all of this? Well, you listen to my show and you learn different skills as we go, right? This has been an hour-long advertisement for unlocked mental performance, physical results. And in a lot of ways it has been. But there's a lot of techniques out there. There's a lot of things you can do. We talked about mindfulness. We talked about visualization. There's meditation. Hey, just the fact that you're exercising and doing physical activity, that helps. Sleep hygiene, your sleep cycle. Be properly rested. It's a huge part of stress management. And eat well. I know I love a big greasy burger when I'm stressed out. It's a comfort food. I'm sorry. I know that's not the right answer, but I love it. But my body loves if I eat a salad. My body loves if I eat lean beef. My body loves a pork chop. Okay? So know the difference between a comfort food and a healthy food that's also a comfort food. And eat better. And reach out to the world around you. I talked about finding medical professionals that can be part of your team. And I'm not joking about that. That can be embarrassing for a lot of people. But if you have the right professionals helping you, it makes a big difference. But it doesn't have to be professionals. Reach out to me. Leave me a comment. Shoot me an email. Reach out to your coach. Reach out to a teammate. Talk to your mom and dad. Talk to a teacher, a professor, a counselor, some random dude at the bar, your barber. Find connections. They'll help build that emotional resilience. It doesn't all have to be laying on a couch talking to a professional therapist. Can be that. And it's very helpful for it when you have that. But a lot of emotional therapy comes in the form of just the general environment around you, just the friends you make and the friends you keep. Keep building that mental resilience. Positive self-talk, reframing, restructuring. Those things have a lot to do with your ability to attack a problem from a different angle. If you just look at it one way and let it beat you up, you're not going to have as many mental tools as somebody who learns to do these other things like reframing. And goal setting is massive when it comes to mental resilience. You need to plan accordingly and focus. And of course, problem solving skills. It doesn't help to have a great plan if every bump in the road causes you to quit. You're going to have to build up some problem solving skills. So here we are. We're reaching the end of the hour. And what we've done today is talk about the theory of stress and how it affects you physically. And I haven't given you a ton of tools to work with in order to actually deal with this, because it's a complex relationship, right? There is so much that goes into it that it just understanding that the relationship exists is an entire multi-episode podcast. I could probably spend a whole season talking about the complexities of managing stress and about how stress can affect hormone levels and about how stress can affect sleep cycles and about how stress can affect gastrointestinal performance and other performances. But what I want you to remember is that there is an interconnectedness between the mind and body. And there's an interconnectedness between the mind and performance. And there's an interconnectedness between the body and performance. It's all connected, and it's connected independently of each other, and it's connected through each other. There's not just one line from mental to performance. That line goes from mental to performance. It also goes from mental to body, and it continues on from body to performance. And it goes from body to performance on its own. It's a spider web of connections. This is not an easy task. You can't fix this with a magic pill. You can't fix this from listening to one episode of my show. I really wish you could, but you can't. And you can't fix this by having one conversation with a medical professional. They also wish you could. I know they want your money. I know you think they want your money. They want to help, and they know that there isn't a magic solution. So what I'm going to tell you right now is the first skill I'm going to give you is breathing properly. If you've made it this far, you're an hour in, and you haven't felt like you got anything yet, this is the one thing I'm going to give you that you will be able to take away from this show today and make a difference in your mental performance tomorrow. Proper breathing. The one good breath. There's many breathing techniques out there. Today, it's the one good breath. So for the one good breath, you're going to want to breathe into your body. And I don't mean just the top of your lungs. I mean your whole chest cavity. And you're going to do that with a long, slow inhale through your nose only. As you inhale, you're going to feel your upper lungs inflate. And you want it to go all the way down into your belly. You want to feel like you're really pushing out. You got that beer belly, that dad bod, as you inflate your entire core with air. And once you get it in there nice and slow, you're going to kind of hold it for a few moments. And it's not a fixed count for this. It's just And then you're going to start to exhale. You're going to start to exhale slowly through your mouth, under control, not but slow. And it should take you longer to exhale than it took you to inhale. So if you inhale for a solid 5 seconds, and then you hold for a few moments, and then you exhale, it should be like 7-8 seconds. Again, you don't have to stress about that. This is to not stress. It's just a... This will be way more effective when I finally do video for this, but that's going to have to wait a little while. The point is, when you're stressed and you're standing out there and you've got to perform and it's time, and you need to get control of yourself, the one good breath can wipe the slate clean and give you an opportunity to perform better than you otherwise would have. Thank you for joining me today on Unlocked Mental Performance, Physical Results. I'm Coach Eric. Keep grinding, keep smiling.